They aren't. Really, lead pencils have never used toxic lead. They remade of graphite mixed with clay. The word lead stuck from an old mix-up centuries ago. Clay controls hardness more clay in the core, the harder the pencil H range. The more graphite, the softer and darker it writes be range. The HB scale isn't universal, and HB in one brand might feel slightly different than another. Each manufacturer tweaks the graphite clay recipe, so artists often have brand preferences. Smooth versus tooth softer B pencils glide smoothly and fill paper tooth better for rich shading, while harder H pencils leave sharper lines that resist smudging. Historic misuse early, artists thought graphite was a form of lead and soldiers once used it to mark cannonballs, long before fine art sketching. Have you ever noticed that your drawing pencils have no sharp edges? It's not an accident. Graphite is a naturally occurring form of carbon. And pure graphite, which is super soft, can sharpen to a razor edge. In fact, the hardest pencils use pure graphite. But when mixed with clay, graphite becomes much more brittle and breaks cleanly, giving us the familiar stubby shape. But why does adding clay make graphite harder? Well, clay is mostly made of silicon and oxygen. Those materials don't conduct electricity, but graphite does. So, when mixed together, clay seems to somehow inhibit graphite's conductivity. Scientists think it has something to do with how the two materials bond at the atomic level. So, by controlling how much clay is mixed with graphite, pencil makers can control hardness. More clay makes for a harder pencil. Like these mechanical pencils, which typically use a thicker clay core for durability. Less clay makes for a softer pencil with more expressiveness, like these softer B pencils. Most of my sketchbooks are filled with these. The softness helps me capture quick line work and subtle value changes. But wait, those numbers are backwards. Shouldn't softer pencils be like 1A and 2A and 3A? Not necessarily. While the HB scale is supposed to be universal, each pencil brand has its own take on it. Caran d'Ache, for example, is known for its extra soft pencils, while B or softer only go down to 9B. On the other hand, Caran d'Ache goes all the way down to 10B. Faber-Castell and Derwent both offer an 8B. But Derwent also has a 9 bytes and 10B, Caran d'Ache, which I just mentioned, doesn't even offer anything higher than 6B. Then there's Prismacolor, who only offers H, softer. There's even some brands out there that add special ingredients like bone char and wax to their graphite cores, further tweaking the feel and performance of their pencils. Speaking of feel, have you ever noticed how some drawings seem really smooth while others look kind of scratchy? It's not just the pencil. Some papers have a rough texture to them called tooth. Tooth is the result of tiny fibers in the paper that stick up from the surface. Softer pencils fill these valleys in for a smoother look, while harder pencils tend to sit on top of the fibers for sharper lines. To get the smoothest lines possible, some artists even use specialized paper made without any texture at all. But our story begins long before modern art. Soldiers would buy cheap graphite pencils for marking cannonballs. At the time, they had no idea that graphite was actually a pure form of carbon. They assumed it was a type of lead and the name stuck until we started using lead for paint. No one's sure who came up with the H and B system, but it first appeared in print in the early 1800s. One theory credits Nicolas Jacques Conti, the French scientist who invented the first mechanical pencil. Another theory credits the English crayon maker Joseph Hardman. Whatever the case, the H and B scale caught on quickly and became the industry standard. Now you know why your B pencils write differently than your H pencils. Leave a comment below and tell me what you're drawing today. For more drawing tips, check out this playlist. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.